I'm a software person, but fascinated by what it can do with all the new hardware capabilities. So, simplest question is, what are the most exciting hardware developments you see or devices?
See, everywhere in the world you see products being built for the Western world, or challenges from the developed economy. But in India, we are seeing there's several challenges. There's no dearth of challenges for India. It's a very chaotic ecosystem, infrastructural challenges, civic challenges, and these problems don't get solved by a first world innovation ecosystem, and this needs to be solved by a local startup or local innovator or a maker, and that's something that we are enabling. Solving the local challenges could be in healthcare, in child mortality, it could be in locomotives, in transport, infrastructure challenges in transport. So these are very, very local, and they may not sound like super cool, but they are solving really, really big problem.
Can you give one example?
A few examples are, we don't have ICUs, not many hospital beds in India. The ratio that you see and that needs to be there in a country like India is not there. So what we have is a company which is building a wearable that is a 5-minute diagnosis using your retina and eye tracking to diagnose a lot of things and problems that patients have, which can be done in 5 minutes, and what would usually take like 3 to 4 hours of diagnosis and checkups. So that's one company we have. It's called Cyclops MedTech. Then there are very local companies building local solutions. Like cricket is a very crazy game in India. So we have one company which is building a solution for cricket. It's a smart accessories and smart cricket ball. It's a sports tech company. It's called See How. They're building something very local, where it's a startup from India had to build a cricket solution because this is a cricket crazy nation.
So, can you give a sense of how big the market is in India?
See, the market in India is pretty big because 65% of Indian electronics is imported. It's consumer electronics is like 10 billion right now, but in the next 3 years, it is tripling to $30 billion. In US, it's $120 billion. Electronics on a whole, including components and everything else, is like a $400 billion in next 3 years. So it's a pretty big market and totally import driven. We are not manufacturing much of Indian electronics. There are fab labs coming in, and there are various regulations in India, the Make in India initiative, and also various regulations to circumvent a lot of imports and to encourage entrepreneurs to build things here. So that's a trend we are seeing. So you see a lot of slogans of Make in India. It's very much required for a country like India, who's totally importing electronics.
Okay, there's a large rural and poverty population and agricultural. Do you see where these devices can help there?
See, agriculture, even in our developed world, where you have very large land parcels, the agriculture is slowly adopting technologies. Even in countries like Africa, which has a lot of big companies have ventured into Africa to do large-scale commercial farming. Typically, almost like 6 years ago, people used to use charter flights to get all the pesticides and screening to be done. And today, they're using drones. And there are several other sensor technologies that are going into soil, into moisture level, into predicting and detecting bollworm diseases in cotton to any other diseases in the crops. So these are the things which are getting very tech savvy. The agriculture operation itself is getting tech savvy, but it needs scale. In a country like in a continent like Africa, it has large land parcels. Europe, Australia, typically, there are 1,000 hectares land or 10,000 hectares land. Then you have big John Deere planters, tillers, to Kubota tractors doing all the operations, and entire farming is controlled by a handful of 3 to 4 people. In India and even Southeast Asia, Indonesia, the land parcels are very, very few, on an average like 1 hectare or 2 hectares, right? So farmers do not have that scale to implement IoT or new tech solutions. They are still grappling with problems and challenges of primitive agriculture, adapting newer techniques in hybrid seed methodologies, and using extensive pesticides. So there are several challenges, and the farmers are still grappling with issues, and they're trying to get into this entire digital revolution in accessing information about weather, information about seeds, information about the soil, and predicting weather or monsoon, which is the rainy season here. So the farmers are getting into this digital revolution thanks to the mobile phones, and also the internet and the mobile phone that is helping farmers getting more aware and getting more knowledgeable in agriculture techniques. But it'll take a while for them to implement these new age tech solutions, which is still a decade away for small landholding farmers. But we are still seeing few large contract farmers who are coming into the market. There are large corporates who are venturing into contract farming. They're taking up 10,000 hectares of land and contracting farmers. They are giving all the inputs from seeds to fertilizers to pesticide, and also monitoring the things, because it's important for these large companies from Pepsi to Kraft Foods. It's important for them to know what is the agricultural production in the next 3 months or the next quarter, so then they can plan sourcing from the Indian farmers. And that's what is driving at least technology into agriculture in India. But otherwise, farmers on their own are not venturing or utilizing these technologies.
Okay. Are there, I guess, equivalent to farmer cooperatives or ways for farmers to work together to share the technology to get scale on their own?
It's not there yet. It's not coming to the mainstream. The cooperatives are helping them in techniques and getting them hybrid seeds, getting them awareness and workshops on how to prevent a particular disease which is very prevalent in that locality. But otherwise, not much of help in terms of high-tech agriculture.